So what do we learn this week about Abzan Toughness? Well, first off, and most importantly, the deck was way more consistent than I ever could have imagined. When I saw this deck, it looked sort of like a bad Abzan deck, like a fun Abzan deck with a lot of really cool and potentially powerful things, but a risky Abzan deck in the sense that if you don't have a Doran or an Assault formation, you play a bunch of creatures that don't do anything. If you don't have those cards, Tower Defense doesn't do anything. Because we're playing all those cards, we have less removal than a typical Abzan deck. So it seemed like a likely most of the time worst build of Abzan. After playing the deck, though, it was way better at always having an assault formation or a Doran than I would have imagined. So it was just almost never a problem. Between having the Doran itself and having the assault formations, that's 6 copies. We also have the 2 chords of calling, which we would use to search out our Doran, so that's up to 8 copies. Then we have the 4 Trefoil Harbingers, which were actually really good, so that puts us all the way up to 12 copies, which means we pretty much just always had one. Trefoil Harbinger is also a pretty sweet card in the deck. Not only can it search out our Doran, it can find us a land when we're land light, but it can also just search out other copies of Trefoil Harbinger. So in the mid-game, after we get an Assault Formation or a Doran, we can just play a 3/3 for 1 every turn, if that's going to be good enough. And you can always not search. But above all else, the card that obviously stuck out is being absolutely over-the-top absurd was Tower Defense. Tower Defense, it looked janky. When I saw it, it looked really cool and sweet, but it is just absolutely bonkers. There were so many times where we would just, like, Court of Calling for a Doran, have a couple Lingering Souls tokens, play a Tower Defense, win the game on the spot. It is just so easy to win the game after we get a Doran or an Assault formation with our Tower Defense. I think I didn't count the actual numbers, but a massive percentage of our wins was from the Tower Defense, and that card is just super, super insanely good. On the other hand, it is part of the reason it is super good is because people don't expect it. If this deck ever became popular and people knew that they were just going to die when you attack with 2 random Lingering Souls tokens, that's the benefit right now. When you attack with 2 Lingering Souls tokens, people think, oh, I'm probably going to go from 20 to 18. They don't think my life is in danger. I better leave up mana or those Lingering Souls tokens are going to kill me. But with Tower Formation, that legitimately happens. It doesn't take that many creatures to win. But if people start seeing this deck all the time, even if you see this deck one time and get got by the Tower Defense, you're going to start leaving up mana. You're going to start playing in a way to try to minimize your chances of dying to Tower Defense. And I think Tower Defense would still be very good in the deck because it's essentially +5/+5 to your entire team for 2 mana at instant speed, which is just so far above the curve. But once people start realizing what's going on and knowing that there's a risk that they just die out of nowhere, it gets a little bit worse. One card I was not impressed with whatsoever was Ajani Caller of Pride. I think every single matchup we played, we sided out Ajani Caller of Pride. It's cute if you play it on turn 2 off of a birds. I guess that's fine. But I was just not excited about Ajani. We took it out basically every matchup. I think that slot could be better used with maybe a 3rd Court of Calling, possibly some more removal. Another interesting idea, and I don't know if this is a good or bad idea, but if you get rid of the 2 Siege Rhinos, which were also not impressive, we sided out one of them quite often and just left one as a cord target. If you took out the 2 Siege Rhinos and took out the 2 Ajani Caller of Prides, maybe did a little bit more finagling, could make this into a Collected Company Doran deck, because every other creature gets hit by it. It's another way to find our Dorans, and I don't know, it could work. So those are the cards I'd look at cutting. Definitely 100% cut Ajani. Just doesn't do anything. And then Siege Rhino just doesn't seem all that necessary. By the time we were getting to Siege Rhino mana, we were usually either winning the game or using our mana to Court of Calling for a Doran to win the game. So it just doesn't seem all that great at 4 mana. So I think those slots could be used better, either by Collected Company or by some kind of removal. But the deck was awesome. We went 5-0. We absolutely just stomped our way through those matches, caught so many people by surprise with tower defense, so no major changes necessary to this one. If you want to give this one a run somewhere, go for it. I don't know if this is going to win a GP or anything, especially once people know what's going on, but it's certainly competitive enough to play an event and expect to have success with it. Anyway, that's been our Much Abrew About Nothing for this week. Thank you very, very much for watching, and of course, I will talk to you soon.